Mr. Wetstone is Senior Director of Government and Public Affairs to the American Wind Energy Association. AWEA promotes wind energy as a clean source of electricity for consumers around the world. With over 1,500 members and advocates, the association is the hub of the wind energy industry. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman and Ranking Member Shabbat. I am Greg Wetstone, Director of Government and Public Affairs at the American Wind Energy Association, and I do want to thank you very much for the chance to be with you this morning and to talk about the tremendous potential for small business and the tremendous growth already that we've seen as a result of wind energy development here in the United States. Most of our 1,500 member companies are, in fact, small businesses. They produce critical wind turbine components like gears and bearings and electrical parts. They make composites for blade. They work construction as wind turbines are built around the country. And they participate in the shipping and transportation of parts in order to get this new energy source and gear. This is happening on a surprisingly large scale. Most Americans are not aware that wind, which was once a boutique source of electricity, is now a mainstream option for electrical generation. The U.S. currently has 18,000 megawatts already on the grid of wind power. That's enough for 5 million homes. 3 years in a row, wind has been second only to natural gas as a source of new electrical capacity. And last year, wind power provided 35% of all the new electrical capacity in the U.S. Once again, second only to gas. That was over 5,200 megawatts of wind powers. So it's growing at a dramatic scale, and the reason is that the U.S. has one of the best wind resources of any nation in the world, and when you combine that with rapidly growing electricity demand, and that's what we have here in this country, we see that the U.S. is the biggest market in the world for wind energy development. And that's meant that the construction and manufacture and operation of wind turbines has been a rare bright spot in an economy that overall has been pretty tough, spurring growth and creating jobs to the tune of more than $9 billion last year. Since January of 2007, 28 new wind industry manufacturing plants have been opened or operated in the United States. And I would be surprised, and the states where these are located are listed in my written testimony. There's a lot of them, and the list grows every week. Mr. Shabbat, Ohio is a tremendous center of wind industry manufacturing. It's just starting now. The potential there is immense. And I'd be surprised if there's another sector of the economy you can point to that's creating jobs at a faster rate than we are. A single wind turbine has 8,000 parts, and a typical turbine manufacturing facility is like an auto assembly plant, in that it is buying component parts from a large number of sub-suppliers, typically about 400 sub-suppliers for a single turbine manufacturing facility. And that's creating a lot of jobs and helping a lot of small businesses that are providing these parts and transporting them. And wind turbine manufacturing is also spurring an expansion demand for other kinds of products and materials. Suppliers to the automotive and other heavy equipment industries are now also increasing their production because of wind. So that's steel and concrete providers, foundries, fabricators. These are now providing raw materials, metal castings, and machining for wind turbines. And because wind turbines are so large, there's a tremendous economy and scale in building the domestic manufacturing capability here in the U.S. rather than shipping these massive turbines and blades long distances, especially at today's fuel prices. Today, about half of wind turbine components are made in the U.S. Only 2 years ago, that number was 30%. And if we could get stable federal policies, long-term extension of the tax credit, we would see that number go up in terms of percentage of domestic manufacturing. In addition to spurring thousands of green jobs, wind power is helping to diversify our power supply, stabilize electricity costs, and that's good for any small business. Wind uses no fuel, so the price of electricity from wind is not affected by gyrations in global markets for oil or natural gas. Studies project more than $100 billion in consumer savings from a shift to wind power, consistent with the renewable energy requirements that were included in the bill that passed the House last summer. in a national renewable standard. And this recent growth could be just the beginning. The Department of Energy has projected we could get to 20% wind energy. There are some barriers. We have to build transmission, build manufacturing capability, get stable domestic policies, but there's no technological requirement, and that growth would create 500,000 jobs, and that's just the beginning. 20% wind would boost economic development in windy rural areas, promote energy security, and if you care about global warming, we're talking about effectively taking 140 million vehicles off the road by using clean wind energy. Now, all this growth over the past several years, and particularly last year, has been a phenomenal bump for the economy, but today it's at risk because the production tax credit is on the threshold of expiration. And every time the PTC's expired, I direct you to the chart in our testimony. It's expired 3 times. Each time it expires, you see a 70 to 90% decline in new wind development. And that's bad for our economy, and it's bad for this country in a lot of ways. Already we're seeing impacts from the delay in extending the credit. Investors want to know, what's the tax policy going to be before they put the money down for a new project to go online next year? A study by Navigate Consultant concluded that if the credit expires, that'll cost us $11 billion in wind energy investment and more than 76,000 jobs here in this country. So we need the stability of a long-term extension to promote U.S. manufactured and to keep this industry growing. There's broad support across the political spectrum for extending the credit, and it's absolutely critical that Congress find a way quickly to get through the current impasse and enact a long-term full-value extension of the tax credit, and that would be the starting point for a healthier economy and a cleaner energy future. Thank you so much.